Scientist in an arm like a cannon. Rick is a former mime, Golden Voice broadcasting psycho. And Joe is a freewheeling wild card with zero sports knowledge to speak of. Together, they make the crew of Offsides. Now on Cute 94.7. Brought to you by The Oil Pit, D&J's Polaris, Womack Construction, and Texoma Foam Installation Services.
All right, good morning again to you right here on your Liquor to Later Q94.7. It's time for Offsides. That's right, and well, this morning I decided to open the door and let these dudes in, so I hope everything is going okay.
I've got a key, bro.
You got a key? Oh, I thought you got a key to the side door.
No, I have a key to all doors.
They gave you a key to the front door?
They're all the same.
When did that happen?
They're all the same.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they are.
No.
Okay.
You know, they're all different. You know, that's the way it works.
It's fine. If you want to believe...
We have key priority around here.
No.
You know, front door keys are more important.
There's a priority.
Front door keys are more important. Yeah.
Okay. They're all the same.
One of these days, you'll get the front door key.
Everyone has the front door key.
Yeah, whatever. That's not what they told me. Okay, enough about the keys. It's time to talk a little football as we had a bit of a game last night. And Joe was talking about this a little while ago. Some humongous upsets last night we're going to get into.
Yeah, it looks like I think Graham's going to be playing the Jeffersons a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to be moving on up, so that'll be talking about that coming up here in just a bit. But also we're going to be talking about this, and coming up after we talk some scores and stuff is a new rule that has been put in out in California. We're going to be talking about that one and see if that one decides to move across the country.
California?
Yeah, California.
You mean Ricks can marry other Ricks?
Shut up. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about a football rule, Travis. All right, last night, the Graham Steers, Springtown Porcupines, the Pojo, it was Pojo homecoming. The Pojos...
Man, was that a treat.
They wheeled out, 12, 14, 25, 60 candidates?
There were a lot of candidates, and there was a lot going on. But it was kind of fun because we were on here.
We got to be entertaining.
We got to, step outside of our comfort zone.
That's right.
Radio-wise.
We got to step outside.
Calling the football game.
That's right.
All of a sudden, we're talking red carpet stuff. So.
Right. And I thought it was funny because we were entertaining.
I think we nailed it.
Yeah, it was very, very much fun. But the 25... 25, 30, I don't know how many it was, 60, 75. All the candidates for homecoming last night, it was pretty crazy. But there was a game last night. And, okay, first question. This was asked me last night on the way home, and I didn't answer it until I got back to the house. But a guy called me, or a guy sent me a message. I will not mention his name, but he is a steer dad. And he was asking me if I thought Graham Steer games have gotten boring.
Yeah, big time. Especially if you're calling them on the radio. I mean, no doubt, if my kid was playing, maybe not, but they are boring because they're just so dominant. And the schedule, there's not, the schedule just doesn't accommodate a team that's, quite this good, I guess, is how you would say that. Not until... you can only play the schedule that you have, and the Steers have done a good job not taking anyone lightly. But so far, it's every game's been a blowout.
Well, there's only just a handful of teams in the state of Texas that are just a cut above everybody else.
Sure.
And then you've got your mid-level teams who are building, and then you've got your teams down on the bottom rung of things. That's just a pecking order. That's a circle of life. That's just the way it is. And when you get a team like Graham, who is playing some of the teams that are on the lower rungs of the ladder, this is going to happen.
Yeah, there are probably 23A teams in the state of Texas that would make for a good, maybe 25 teams in the state of Texas that would make for a good matchup against the Steers and make for a good game. And so far, it just really hadn't been there.
No, we really haven't seen a whole lot. And now we're not showing you disrespect toward the other teams. It's just the fact is the Graham Steers have gotten that good that they're just taking people apart.
We have the conversation all the time. Is before games we just kind of say, well, what are we going to talk about when the third quarter gets here, or when what are we going to talk about during the fourth quarter? We're not we don't expect to be really spending much time on the game at that point because we just need something, and we've of course seen how all these games have gone, and last night was another one where nothing at all happened. They might have gotten a fumble for a touchdown,
right?
But it was already 49-7. That made it 49-14.
Well,
it really didn't matter. But I think that's the only play that happened in the second half of any magnitude.
Well, we've seen that twice this year. We've seen 2 fumbles picked up and taken back for touchdowns, but that's about it. And the Steers, by the time they get to halftime, they're in control. They're maintaining things. And you know what? Looking at last night's game, one thing we were discussing a little bit on the way back is that the turning point of that game. The turning point of that game was when the Steers scored 21 points within about 2 minutes.
Sure, and that was in the first quarter. It was about 3/4 of the way through the first quarter. The Steers were already Springtown scored their first drive to make it 7-0, and then Graham scored on their second drive with a 50-yard Ben Davis run to make it 7-7. But here's where it got interesting. With 4 minutes and 55 seconds left in the first quarter, Nick Martin takes an interception, 60 yards for a touchdown, 14-7. Okay, then right after that, literally right after that, it was a kickoff, and then the first offensive play from Springtown. Mikey Freeze gets an interception, and just a few plays later, Ben Davis is rushing in for a touchdown. And then just a couple seconds after that, Dylan Gonzalez catches a pass and goes 72. So it was 21 points, and in a span of literally 2 minutes, and it was just took the game out of Springtown's hands completely.
Now, you know what was kind of wild is after that first drive, I didn't feel bad. I was like, okay, what the world's going on here? That was my first thought. My other thought was, and I mentioned this whenever Landry Turner was coming off the field.
Sure,
he was chest bumping. He was looking over toward the Steer bench like he was staring them down. He's a sophomore. Shut up. And then
that's the Springtown quarterback, by the way.
Right.
Those that don't know,
they were pumping their fists. They were
fired up, and they scored.
They were
and
fired
I
up.
thought, here we go. I was like, we've actually got, because last year this was such a great game. I thought we've actually got a football game here. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. But you got to be careful when you're picking on teams like Graham. You choose them to play in big games like there was last night for Springtown. You got to. I'm trying to figure out a way to put this. There's a certain way. You don't want to make them mad.
You don't want to. It's like that'll say you don't want to go tugging on Superman's cape. That kind of stuff. And I believe that what happened was last night after that first drive, that Springtown got a little bit out of their element and started tugging on Superman's cape a little bit.
Well, I'm going to put on my Coach Davidson hat and say, I don't know. I just think we probably had maybe the better talent on the field. But, I don't know. I think getting scored on immediately, regardless of any talking or, Springtown being excited in any way, I think we just had a lot better talent. And Springtown came out and scored, and I think that ticked a lot of them off in and of itself, and they went out and pretty much stopped it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing to watch, see how that turned out. I mean, the defense last night, Graham Steer defense probably gave up more yards last night than they have given up all year long, but they were still in control.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing is Springtown got away kind of from their game plan. Kind of what made them successful is just, trying to sustain a long drive through getting 3 or 4 yards at a time and converting on third down, which, is dangerous. If you're getting to 3rd and 4 every single time, that's kind of a dangerous way to play it unless you're just really good at converting there. But that's what they did on their first drive. They got away from it. They started taking some shots down the field. Not a lot of success there. So yeah, it was, good job and go Steers. Right?
Looking at Springtown, they got a sophomore quarterback who is pretty good.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. And anytime you have a guy like him, he's only going to get better.
Sure.
Is he, and I'm not saying...
sophomore running back who was pretty decent, too.
Good sophomore running back. They've got some tools to work with. Do you see him maybe growing kind of like a Ben Davis situation where he just gets a little bit better?
Yeah, I could definitely see him being a really good player. I mean, I think being a coach's son helps because or it helps you as far as being a player goes because, I think that you're always around, talking about what we need to do here, what we need to do there, and whatnot. But, as a freshman, he came in the game, and he really made it very interesting. As a sophomore, he's a starter on varsity. There's no reason the kid shouldn't be really good.
It's halfway through the season now. We're 5-0. The season is half over. I mean, that's amazing. We just got started, and we're already half done.
I know it.
And
that's so fast.
Or half done with the regular season, put it that way. At the beginning of the year, when we saw what they were doing with Mineral Wells, we kind of knew we had a pretty good team here. But did you think in a million years we'd have the team that we have out on the field that first game?
Well, I think the thing about this team that I saw that I hadn't seen in a couple weeks was just that uber explosive offense. Rick and I think we've both seen this offense stall the last couple of games in the third quarter and kind of in the second half, and maybe that's lack of
competition.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that has something to do with being up 40 points. But last night the offense, even missing some pieces, was just really explosive and really productive. Scored a lot of points. A couple of turnovers that they want to clean up, but I'd rather you make turnovers than punt the ball away. To be honest, I would, because I like offenses that take shots, especially at this level with such a good defense behind you. That's just the way I feel about it. So I was really happy to see, and if the offense plays like that and the defense does their thing. Man, no, I didn't expect him to be that good.
Well, I was just kind of, wondering, watching the Steers last night, looking at them, thinking, did I think when they kicked off that ball against Mineral Wells that they would be this good at that point? No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I was expecting them to be good after last year's run. But, you had some key losses on defense. Jared Mahan, a huge loss. Hunter Wall.
Athlete.
Hunter Wall's a huge loss. You had, Hunter Jones, another one, two-way player, huge loss. You look at those, you think, okay, who's going to step in? And I'm telling you right now, so far, I mean, a guy like Cotton Game stepped in for Hunter Walls, hadn't missed a beat, or Jared Mahan was all everything, and you see Gonzalez back there stepping up and Freeze.
Freeze really took Mahan's spot, and they're very similar athletes. If you just look at them in a vacuum as far as size, speed, and all that.
It's really cool when you've got a situation where when you graduate a bunch of guys like that you could just reload.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to what this coaching staff has done in the offseason as far as getting these kids prepared to play, in the weight room and all that. They have them ready to go by the time the season starts, and they have new kids every single year. So, these Graham classes have been fantastic, too.
All right, we're going to take a break, hear from a couple of our sponsors as the rain is coming down, majorly coming down. We're going to be a couple of sponsors. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some scores. And we've got a rule that we need to talk about out of California, so stick around, stay tuned. You'll listen to Offsides right here in your Lincoln leader.
It's factory authorized clearance spot at D&J's Polaris. Now's your chance to save up to $1,000 and receive 2.99% financing through September 30th. Save on Polaris Ranger, the absolute best side-by-side utility vehicles in the industry, or the Polaris Sportsman ATV. It's all waiting for you at D&J's Polaris, Southview at Elm and Graham. Now with up to $1,000 savings and financing as low as 2.99. ATVs and side-by-side vehicles can be hazardous to operate. Polaris adult models for ages 16 and over. Always wear a helmet and be sure to take a training course. Polaris ATVs and side-by-side vehicles are not intended for on-road use. Financing with approved credit.
Maximize your greatest investment with the best insulation and roofing products available. Texoma Foam Insulation Services offers these benefits of ThermoSeal insulation. Reduce your energy bills. Enjoy cleaner and healthier indoor air. Improve your home's value and enjoy consistent temperatures. To discover more from ThermoSeal Insulation of the Future, call Texoma Foam Insulation Services today at 940-549-3626 or visit their website at texomafoam.com.
It's Offsides with Joe, Travis, and Rick on Q94.7.
All right, time to get back to Offsides here, and you look at the leader, Q94.7 on a Saturday morning, talking some football. Before we get to the scores, area-wide scores and stuff like that, Joe went back with our research department. We've got a
crack team of researchers.
Well, we've got a 65-member staff in the back that does all our research, and Joe went back there a while ago, and they handed him some interesting scores.
You know, I'll tell you, we talked a little bit earlier about maybe Graham playing the music from the Jeffersons a little bit, because Graham went into this game ranked 6th in the state in 3A, and obviously they've got 5 teams ahead of them. Well, I think just based off the scores, Rick and I were talking with the team this morning, probably looking like Graham's going to be moving up a little bit. Let's go through these scores. Obviously, Graham beat Springtown 49-14. Right ahead of them was Kilgore. They seem to have a relatively easy win, 41-12 against Spring Hill. Argyle beat down Hutchins, no big surprise there. But when we get into the top 3, we got a little bit of a shakeup. Navasota, not sure what's going on with Navasota, but they lost to Fairfield 44-24. So they are more than likely going to drop down below the Steers. Gilmer had a beat down against Gladewater 52-14. The other surprise, not sure how the schedule worked with this, but you had number 1 team in 3A, Carthage, playing the number 3 team in 4A, White House. And, Carthage the week before played against Nacogdoches and barely squeaked out a win.
Nacogdoches.
44-40. I'm not sure if they've got some issues going on with their team, but Carthage came into this game and they actually lost to White House 63-39. So, again, not really sure what's going on with Carthage, but when you've got 2 losses in the top 3, got to feel like Carthage probably isn't going to drop a whole lot because, again, they lost to the number 3 team in 4A. But got to think Graham's probably going to be up minimum at the 5th spot, maybe up as high as the 4th spot. Not really sure, but these are all rankings. You obviously got to play the game on the field. Rankings don't really mean much. This isn't BCS or anything like that. But it's good to see that some of those top teams are falling, and it can only be good for Graham.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of those scores that. That Carthage score. I mean, that's not just a loss. That's a beatdown.
Yeah, but they did score 39 points, 63-39.
Yeah, but if you give up almost 70
to the number 3 team in 4A.
Exactly, but that doesn't matter.
It does matter.
In fact, I'm going to bring up something you told me not long ago. Okay. We got into this discussion, and we were talking about, in basketball, if you got like the number 1 team in 2A taking on the number 10 team in 3A, that it should be a close game. And you said there's no way that it's a close game because if you got a number 1 team playing a number 10 team at any level, it doesn't matter. Well,
I never said that.
Yes,
you're just putting words in my mouth.
No, I didn't.
That's ridiculous.
That's exactly what you said.
No.
Now, so you're changing up things.
Okay.
But yeah.
Not true. Anything out of Rick's mouth is probably a lie if it involves me.
No, that's just what you're thinking.
So.
Okay.
Listen, it's not a lie if you believe that it's true.
Well, if you say it enough. All right, some of the other area scores going on. It was Abilene Wiley last night over Lubbock Estacada. Do you know what the Estacada mascot is?
The Staked Plains.
The what?
Llano Estacado, the Staked Plains.
The Lubbock Estacada Matadors. 28-12 last night. It was Wiley over the Matadors. Brownwood over Sweetwater last night. Sweetwater actually
got... You know why they call it the Staked Plains?
Why?
Because the explorer, I kind of forget his name. Probably going to catch heck for that one. But, he was up there
Daniel Boone?
on the...
was it Daniel Boone?
No.
Davy Crockett?
No, it was a Spanish Spanish conquistador. But
Don Quixote.
They kept going in circles.
Don Quixote
until they finally every mile they put a stake down in the ground
that they
could
Moses
walk a straight line.
Was it Moses?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't Moses.
Well, I just wondered.
From the Bible.
Okay. Moses wandered in the wilderness.
Talking about like the 1500s here.
Well, the guy, his name could have been Moses. All right, you don't know. Brownwood last night over Sweetwater. Sweetwater actually got some votes in the top 10 last week, so Sweetwater on the upswing. But it was Brownwood over Sweetwater last night, 35-30. Burke Burnett took care of Mineral Wells last night, 24-8 in that matchup. One that makes me feel a whole lot better about our situation here in Graham. Decatur 42, Iowa Park 7.
Yeah, you got to love that. We are, in case you've been under a rock as far as Graham sports goes, we are rooting heavily for Iowa Park to be the worst team that's ever played football. Because if Iowa Park misses the playoffs, and that's hard to do in our district with only 5 teams when they're all bad.
80% of this district makes the playoffs.
Other than us and Vernon, all of our teams are pretty much neck and neck at bad. Mm-hmm. We need Hershey and we need the Burke Burnetts of the world to put the womp on Iowa Park so that we can go small school. We'd really like to go Division II and help make that happen, people, by clapping your hands and making a wish.
That's right. Do the rub your heels together, whatever you got to do. Vernon 42, Pampa nothing last night. The Vernon Lions keep rolling. And Wichita Falls Hershey last night over 2A Crum, 36-14. Hershey was scoring 1 million points every game. Now they've kind of been brought down to earth the last couple of weeks.
Playing a 2A team and not blowing them out.
Right. Cisco last night. This is a pretty big game here. The Cisco Lobos taking on Stanford. Stanford was in the top 5 in 2A, and it was Cisco 54-14 over Stanford last night. That's a pretty big game. Clyde 48 and our buddy Jeff Williamson at Jim Ned 48-30. It was Bulldogs over the Indians in that matchup. Holiday got off the mat and beat Monday last night 55-22. Jacksboro. Coach Hod and his gang took care of Lindsay last night, 20-3 in that matchup. Electra over Archer City last night, 27-14. Seymour over Holly, 49-6. It was Windthorst over Petrolia last night, 17-6. Guthrie, I didn't know Guthrie even had a high school. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Guthrie over Woodson last night, 64-13. The Strawn Greyhounds over the Gordon Longhorns, 75-30. And here is the game, the score of the night. Throckmorton Greyhounds over Motley County, 99-50.
Just couldn't score that extra one, could they?
Well, you look at that score, 99. I mean, that's 149 points were scored in a high school football game.
Yep. Gotta love that 6-man. It's so much fun. And shout out to the Newcastle Bobcats and then T-Rock, as they call themselves. All fun teams to watch, absolutely, and all really top teams in 6-man football.
Newcastle was off last night, the number 4 team in the state of Texas. You know what? You got to give Newcastle some props because they have played 4 top 10 teams in 6-man and beat 3 of them.
Well, and a few of those teams are Division I. Newcastle is a Division II team, and you've got to understand the difference in enrollment. Okay, if a Division I or a Division II team has, say, 50 students enrolled in their school, a Division I team could be around 100 students enrolled. So they've got double the enrollment, double the kids coming out for football. I mean, it is not. So some of these wins over Division I teams have been super impressive for the fact that these are school. Imagine, okay, Graham's about 850 or no,
850 something, yeah.
Enrollment, okay. Imagine them playing a team with 1,700 kids enrolled. That's a similar contrast if you just go by the ratio of students to from a Division II school to a Division I. So some of those wins are very impressive.
All right, we're going to have one of our two of our sponsors come back. We're going to talk about a rule that has been put in some youth leagues in California and see what see how this boat floats. Stay tuned.
It's times like, well, now that we need to hold on to our vehicles as long as we can. And the Oil Pit has been helping you keep your car or truck for years. Literally. The Hughes family has been working hard to keep your family on the road and safe with oil changes, transmission fluids, and fluid level and tire pressure checks. And that family tradition Tom Hughes started years ago. Stop by the Oil Pit on 4th and Graham or call 940-549-5136.
At Jake Womack Construction, Cornerstone Pools, the goal is to not only help you design and build your dream home, but to make the process easy and enjoyable for you. They're a full-service design-build company with a wide range of experience. Jake Womack can help you with all phases of new home construction or remodeling, procuring suitable land, architecture and design, building your home, and landscaping your yard. Call 940-549-9944. Jake Womack Construction, helping you build your dreams.
Now, back to Offsides with Travis, Rick, and Joe on Q94.7.
All right, welcome back to Offsides here on your Liquor Leader Q94.7. Yes, I said it. Don Quixote. I'm getting text messages from people going, really, Rick? I mean, come on.
You know, one thing I want to bring up today.
Hey, Don Quixote could have been exploring Lubbock, okay?
He could have been.
That's all I'm saying.
One of the things that I'm glad to see today, I mean, you feel bad for the group that puts this on, but I'm glad Western Heritage Day is today because my grass has been getting quite brown, and it's good to see that they scheduled this for today because I really needed the rain.
Well, we love Western Heritage Day. We love the fact that people come to Graham. We love the fact that folks come to town and get involved in stuff here in Graham. And it seems like every time there's Western Heritage Day, we get rain.
Think how sloppy the pig pit's going to be later.
Exactly, So, it's going to be lots of fun there. Hey, Joe, we got a rule in California.
Have mercy.
Yeah, that. This guy, his name is Robert. He's
moron.
He's the deputy commissioner of a youth football league. Okay, and they're trying to teach what they say is sportsmanship. And here's what the deal is: if you, as a coach, allow your team to win a game by more than 35 points or more, then you will be fined $200 and a possible suspension. Now, they're floating this little rule in the youth leagues because they want to see how it works and to see if they can implement it in public schools. It all got started because there was a team called Trinity that was winning at 51-0 at halftime. Now, this is what blows me away. The kids that were getting beat 51-0 at halftime were all on the sideline crying and upset and did not want to play. And that's where this rule came from. Suck it up, Buttercup. In life, there's winners and there's losers. There's people that are going to win. There's people that are not going to win. There's people going to work harder to try to win. And why do in America do we punish people that try to be successful?
I'm not going to go against you on this point. I think the spirit and the heart of the rule is probably good, especially in the Pee Wee leagues. I managed my managerial days. I managed a youth baseball team, and one of the things that really annoyed me, it was part of the rules, but one of the things that really annoyed me was the base stealing. And I really thought that it didn't teach the fundamentals of the game, which was what we were there to do. And you had coaches out there basically, you're talking about a pitcher that's maybe fourth and fifth grade trying to pitch, plate pitch there. And coaches were just telling them to steal all the time to get the score up. And I really thought at the time, you're not teaching fundamentals. When you're dealing with Pee Wee, I see where the heart and the spirit of the rule is a good thing. But like you said, at some point, you can't coddle and handhold kids all the time. I mean, my little sweet little daughter, Katie, who's homesick today, we have her in soccer right now. She's 4 years old. She's playing soccer. The idea is to get her out there, get some exercise, get her some lessons to teach her to play soccer and stuff. But listen, it's you don't keep score at that age, but you kind of do keep score a little bit because as they grow and as they get into bigger and faster sports and so forth, like you said, there are winners and there's losers. Let's take the in life out of there, but in sports, that's the whole point of a sport, is to say which team wins, which team loses. And to sit there, and if you read down a little bit, they're talking about, this is not just in California. I think they've got it in Kentucky and one or two other states. But, they're also talking about, basically, how do you tell kids to not give it 100%? How do you tell kids to go out there?
I guess my point is on this thing. You got a kid, let's say he's 5 years old. He's and I've coached Little League sports. I've done baseball, soccer, a whole shebang with the kids. And you've always got one or two kids on every team that are athletically, they get it.
Right.
They get it. They understand what they're supposed to do. If you're telling that kid, look, I know you're better than everybody else, and I know you can score on stuff, but because you're athletically better than everybody else, we need to hold you back. We need to let these other kids, let them have a chance at getting a trophy, getting a ribbon, or whatever it is. Well, when you keep doing that to a kid who is athletically or physically a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit, athletically smarter than some of the other kids, by the time they get to junior high, they've got a mentality in their mind of like, man, I can't do my best here. And that really bothers me a lot.
Right. Again, when you're coaching, I coached youth 5th and 6th grade football. And, there were times we went out there and we got beat by better teams. And, sure, as a coach, it's demoralizing because you have that I don't want to say killer instinct. We're talking about 5th and 6th graders here. But, you have that competitive nature and that you want to win everything. And, sure, it's demoralizing when a team is beating you. But at the same time, you can also turn that around and use it as a great coaching tool to say, listen, guys, we didn't have our game on tonight. But that just says – all week during practice, that's something that you let the kids keep that in their mind so that they know when they want to maybe not give 100% in practice or give 100% in a game, they can remember back to, hey, remember when we got beat? Don't let that happen again type of thing. These guys are also talking about, and I don't really get this, how part of the policy was coaches were telling their players to go out there and turn the ball over so to give the other team a chance. Talk about teaching sportsmanship. That's kind of going a completely the opposite direction.
Yeah, I've just got to throw my 2 cents in the ring. I remember we lost it was football, Pee Wee football, and we lost the championship game. It was really a disappointing loss. And I remember my dad being in the truck with my dad, and he said, listen, when you sign up for sports, you know that somebody is going to win and somebody is going to lose. When you play sports, it's just like life. Like in life, death is inevitable. Well, in sports, failing is inevitable. It's something that's going to happen to everyone. All of the greatest athletes of all time have lost games. So I think that's the best lesson you can learn from sports is that you are going to lose, but you're also going to win, and you've got to learn the competitive nature. You can't stand to lose. You love to win. I think not teaching kids that in athletics is a problem.
Well, I can remember this very well, and I'm not, and believe me, guys, don't think I am bragging any way whatsoever here. When Jake, my oldest son, hang on a second. When we were living in Stephenville, they had 2 soccer seasons every year. They had a spring and a fall. All right, he started playing when he was 3 years old. So by the time we moved to Graham, he had already had 6 seasons under his belt. We moved to Graham, and at the time, the kids did not start playing soccer in Graham till they were 5 years old. Okay, so we moved to Graham. He gets in the league, and we were beating other teams seriously 20 goals a game. And I got pulled over to the side by some of the other coaches and said, you have got to tell your son to quit scoring so much because it's hurting our chances of in the league. Well, it really bothered me, the fact that I had to go tell my son to quit scoring. I just said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Y'all can remove me from the league, but I will not tell my son to quit scoring. Well, on that same team, and a lot of these guys, Dan Smith was on the team.
Sure.
Dan was good.
Yeah.
Brian Four was on the team. He was excellent. We had some girls on there. Kelsey Perry was on that. We had some kids on the team that could really play ball. how in the world do you go to those kids and say, look, you guys are doing exactly what I told you to do. You're doing exactly what I asked you to do, is go out and work hard and play hard and have fun. But on top of that, now we can't.
You can't do it. And, I mean, if you're lucky enough to have subs, that's always an option, is put the subs in. Probably the level of play is going to go down a little bit with the second string, starting. But if you don't have subs, there is nothing you can do. And I've noticed a lot of these teams, like the Little League football here in Graham, and I think a lot of the Little League soccer have very few substitutes. And so you've just got to go with what you've got. And you've got to play. Kids need to play 100% all of the time. They need to learn that. They need to learn to play 4 quarters. You see these teams in high school, and they can't put 4 quarters together. That's a good thing to learn early on, is that you play the entire game throughout. And so, Rick, I don't think there's a lot you can do. But, hey, leave it up to California to mess up youth sports.
I always go with the Herm Edwards way of doing things. Play to win the game.
That's right.
Always. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back. We got some college football to talk about. A big one. Well, actually, a couple of big ones coming up today, so stick around. You're listening to Offsides on Q94.7.
Maximize your greatest investment with the best insulation and roofing products available. Texoma Foam Insulation Services offers these benefits of ThermoSeal insulation. Reduce your energy bills. Enjoy cleaner and healthier indoor air. Improve your home's value and enjoy consistent temperatures. To discover more from ThermoSeal Insulation of the Future, call Texoma Foam Insulation Services today at 940-549-3626 or visit their website at texomafoam.com.
It's times like, now that we need to hold on to our vehicles as long as we can. And the Oil Pit has been helping you keep your car or truck for years. Literally. The Hughes family has been working hard to keep your family on the road and safe with oil changes, transmission fluids, and fluid level and tire pressure checks. And that family tradition Tom Hughes started years ago. Stop by the Oil Pit on 4th in Graham or call 940-549-5136.
You're listening to Offsides with Rick, Joe, and Travis on Q94.7.
All right, you're listening to Offsides here on your Laker to Later Q94.7. Time to shift some gears and talk a little college football coming up. And I guess in our area, one of the bigger games today would be that Notre Dame-Oklahoma game.
Sure. I mean, that's going to be a big one. Number 14 Oklahoma versus at number 22 Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame's won the last, 8 or 9 out of 10. They've got a really good record in this game, but I think the Oklahoma Sooners have them outmatched. Now you wonder what the home field advantage, being up at Notre Dame, will do for the Fighting Irish. So that's just something we'll have to see. Should be a really exciting game.
Something I've been wanting to mention about Notre Dame. A lot of people don't like Notre Dame. Notre Dame's kind of like, I guess you'd say, the New York Yankees, the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
Sure.
And Notre Dame did have some guts about something. They're all-world quarterback. That kid that could play ball, suspended him for cheating on tests. I thought that was pretty incredible because you're not going to see that at other schools, maroon ones, that have a star quarterbacks. You're not going to see that other places. And my hat's off Notre Dame for doing that because that took some guts.
I tell you, we talked about it, I think, first game of the year when Manziel was suspended for like a half. And, against the team that they were more than likely going to beat anyway. Yeah, you talk about stepping up and saying, we're gonna make a statement here. Notre Dame is also one of those schools that I think is kind of on the college football bucket list. I would love to just check out a game up there in South Bend and just kind of take in that whole scenery. When you talk about sports bucket lists and places you want to go, you got Yankee Stadium. I'd love to go check out a game in Seattle. I'm not a Seahawks fan, but, love to check out a game there. Notre Dame's another one.
Yeah. For all my Aggies fans, I just want to point out that Johnny Manziel was never convicted of anything.
No, he was not convicted of a thing. It's just that, why suspend him for a half?
That's the NCAA. That's not Texas A&M.
Yeah, but if you're not going to do anything to him, just don't do anything at all. Just let it go.
Well, the NCAA is ridiculous.
That was my whole point about the Manziel thing. If you're not going to do anything to the guy, don't do nothing. Leave him alone.
Yeah, but what's a half a game against Rice?
Spending a half. What does that do? Nothing.
Pointless.
Nothing. It's stupid. You know,
how do you suspend a guy that you couldn't prove anything against?
Then if he didn't do anything and they couldn't prove it, then why did they do anything at all?
Because they can.
Because that's just dumb.
Because they want to prove that they're powerful, even people.
What they were
who
doing,
don't get caught doing anything.
They were looking at the deal. Well, where there's smoke, there's some possible fire. So we're going to appease everybody. Leave the guy alone. If he didn't do nothing, leave him alone.
Yeah.
You know, that's my point. NCAA is one of the dumbest, organizations in the history of the planet.
Oh, big time.
Because they are so hypocritical about things.
Yeah. What did Des Bryant do?
Yeah, well, what about the whole Oklahoma State team?
Yeah.
Les Miles, all this stuff, I mean, it's ridiculous. But
Des Bryant lost a year that probably would have put him in the top 10 as far as the draft goes. This was before, I know we've talked about this before. This was before the CBA changed and rookies weren't getting as much. That probably cost him $10 million just because a scared kid lied and said he didn't have dinner with somebody. It turns out the dinner didn't even break any NCAA rules, but just lying to them.
Because he lied about it.
Yeah, and then he came back and told the truth, but at that point they said, no, it's too late. You're losing a season of eligibility, a year that he would have been a Heisman candidate. That's, they're jerks.
They are. They're out of control, and it just makes no sense whatsoever. We can talk about this till the cows come home. But we do have some big games today. Notre Dame, OU is a big game today. Also got that LSU game.
Well, yeah, you got LSU at Georgia, number 6 at number 9. LSU, of course, is 4-0. Georgia's coming off a 2-1. That's going to be a good one. One of the ones I'm looking at, Texas A&M at Arkansas, I think is going to be good. Kind of the sleeper. I think the game to watch is going to be later on tonight. You've got number 5 Stanford going up to Washington State. Washington State is a team that is stepping into probably the second rung of teams in the Pac-12, and I look for Stanford to go in there. I look for it to be a really good game. Mike Leach is always you never know what the Pirates going to throw out there at you, and I think that's going to be definitely the game to watch. It's going to be the late game tonight, and then the other one, kind of the early, kind of the precursor to that, is maybe Ole Miss at Alabama. You got 21 Ole Miss going into number 1 Alabama. Both teams are undefeated this year. You're never quite sure what Ole Miss is going to throw at you. Again, watch that game for possible upset.
That one's going to be intriguing.
And, I think a couple of weeks ago, I was like, watch out for this USC Washington State game. And I think everybody in this room kind of laughed at me. And then Washington State goes out and beats USC. And so I'm always paying attention to what Mike Leach has going on because he's the upset king.
Yeah. Okay. Looking at you talked about that A&M game. We talked a little bit about the Aggies a little bit ago. Is Arkansas are they kind of like one of the Bermuda Triangles, that stadium in college football? I know Jones out there at Lubbock is one of them places. Arkansas is kind of one of them places too.
Sure. I mean they can upset people, and they have in the past. And they're never I don't want to say never, but most of the time they're not a top-ranked team, but they still get some big wins over there just because, like you said, it's a place where upsets can happen.
It's just a weird place. Speaking of weird, I don't know, did y'all, shifting gears a little bit here, talking about college football, did you see, I guess it was Tuesday or Thursday night, I can't remember, West Virginia was playing somebody in a game. Did you see the helmets that West Virginia had?
Must have missed it.
Okay, they look like camo with some, I don't know, something on it.
Oh, yeah, I saw those.
Okay, what is up with getting the weirdest helmets you can possibly come up with in college football now?
I don't know. What happened to tradition, man? I mean, you go to a big-time program, a big-time school, and you kind of want to be a part of the tradition and wear the, traditional uniforms and the uniforms that other great players have worn through history. And, it seems like these kids just want to do weird stuff.
Well, I understand Oregon's deal because, they're up there in Nike land. So I understand that completely. And Alabama has stayed the same. Penn State has stayed the same. But I notice like every week TCU has a different look.
Yeah.
West Virginia's got these different looks. Texas Tech comes up with this gray thing going on. Is it selling jerseys?
No,
what is it?
I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's selling jerseys. You've got the college football programs out there that say, hey, we're not making enough money already. So let's see if we can trick it up a little bit and sell a few more jerseys, sell a few more, towels and keychains and all that. Let's call it limited edition or new look or whatever. And if it means, it's the almighty dollar. If they can go out and they can sell a few thousand jerseys and make couple $100,000, they're going to do it. Because, listen, let's face it, college football is hurting money-wise these days, right?
Oh, yeah. You get 100,000 fans.
They're struggling.
Yeah, you get 100,000 fans show up for a ball game, paying $50 or better for a ticket, pay $60 to park your car out in the parking lot. Yeah, they're hurting. Believe me.
I feel bad for them. A regional game. This is one I'll be interested in. This is just happening in a couple of hours. SMU at TCU.
That's not such a bad game.
No, didn't SMU go, upset TCU last year? And Patterson said, well, we'll never play those guys again. And then here they are on the schedule.
I'll tell you, I heard a story one time. It was pretty funny. SMU and TCU were going to play each other. This was back in the 80s. And you know how some teams will go out on the other team's field and do something, Well, SMU goes out on TCU's field and planted a different color, kind of like a ryegrass on their field in the shape of an SMU. Well, the next year, whenever the grass came up, you got this field at TCU, but you've got this one area where it's grown up in a different color grass SMU.
Wow.
That's kind of wild. But yeah, that's been a long time rivalry.
Sure.
It's the Battle of the Iron Skillet.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to watch that one and see what happens. So, college football, big time games going on today. We're going to have to tee it up and talk some pro ball coming up now.
Real quick before we go to break, it's last weekend, possible last weekend for the Rangers. So let's get into that a little bit.
Oh man,
yeah. It's an important September for the Rangers, and even though they've struggled, they've won like their last 5 games. And
Cleveland's won their last 8.
Yeah, but you know what? They're one game back from the wild card. All they can do is win out. Let's see if they can do it. Also, talking Cowboys coming up, I want to talk a little bit about this rookie class if we can. So we're going to get into all that. We'll jump into it right after this break.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Offsides on Q94.7.
If creating the perfect outdoor retreat is in your future, then Cornerstone Pools is where you will find design ideas that become reality for your custom gunite pool and spa and outdoor kitchen and living areas, helping you create family fun and memories that last a lifetime. Honesty, integrity, dependability, the cornerstone of everything they do. Call 940-549-9944. Jake Womack Construction Cornerstone Pools, helping you build your dreams.
It's factory authorized clearance spots at D&J's Polaris. Now's your chance to save up to $1,000 and receive 2.99% financing through September 30th. Save on Polaris Ranger, the absolute best side-by-side utility vehicles in the industry, or the Polaris Sportsman ATV. It's all waiting for you at D&J's Polaris, Southview at Elm and Graham. Now with up to $1,000 savings and financing as low as 2.99. ATVs and side-by-side vehicles can be hazardous to operate. Polaris adult models for ages 16 and over. Always wear a helmet and be sure to take a training course. Polaris ATVs and side-by-side vehicles are not intended for on-road use. Financing with approved credit.
It's Offsides with Joe, Travis, and Rick on Q94.7.
All right, time for the last 15 minutes as we get ready for that home stretch here on Offsides. Keeping it rolling, keeping it real on your Saturday.
Right.
All right, time to look at some pro ball. Something that I saw this last week, and I thought, wow, I was going to get you guys' opinion on this when we get to the game. They were talking about the teams in the NFL that do unusual things to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things they were talking about was a parking situation. How much do teams charge for parking? One team charges $75 a game to park your car. You know who that team would be?
Got to be the Cowboys.
It would be the Dallas Cowboys. $70 to park your car. Well, the Texas Rangers, next door to the Dallas Cowboys, thought, if they can charge $75, we can charge money too. So guess what? The Rangers are opening up their parking lot on days they don't have games to Cowboy fans for a paltry sum of $60 to park your car.
It's crazy.
Is that ridiculous to pay $75 just for the right to park your car?
It's crazy. And actually, ESPN Magazine just came out with a with a study of, as far as they took every franchise in the Big Four, talking NHL, MLB, NFL, and NBA, and they just said, okay, what is the best franchise as far as fans getting the game experience? And, Cowboys were near dead last in all of those.
Because it's a corporation. It's not a game.
Because they make the fan experience so impossible to enjoy that going to games just isn't good for anybody.
Well, they tell you to sit down. They got that gigantic screen, so you can't really watch the game. You're watching television. You can't make any noise, because if you make any noise, you're bothering Mr. Khaki short dude sitting next to you doing a deal for his business. Give me a break.
Hey, I have khaki shorts on today, Rick. The thing is with the Cowboys, though, I guess we can say that they give a really bad fan experience, but none of that's going to change until the fans stop going out there. And so you look at $70-something to park, $75 to park, whatever it costs for a game ticket. You sit down on that.
I paid $300, or I didn't pay. Somebody else paid as a birthday gift, $300 for me and my son to go to a Monday night game. That was $150 a piece. That's on the 30-yard line.
And then let's talk food, let's talk drinks, let's talk souvenirs. It is a very, very expensive fan experience. Just kind of compare and contrast a little bit. Right across the street, you've got the Rangers over there, where if it's like a random Tuesday or Wednesday night, maybe you're going to get like $1 hot dog night. You're going to go sit up way up high, which really isn't a bad seat.
$10.
$10 to get up in there, watch a game, and bang for your buck wise, that's really not that bad. We talked a couple weeks ago about NASCAR too. Really not that expensive to get into a NASCAR game. So I'm curious, Travis, that ESPN article, who had the best fan experience?
The Memphis Grizzlies actually had the best fan experience as far as promotions. You come, first 10,000 get so many things. Right. Tickets are relatively affordable. The team's decent. They made it to the Western Conference Finals. All those things. Make for a. They were the best, but the other sports teams in the Fort Worth, Dallas area, talking the Stars were the top in the Dallas area. Mm-hmm. Then you had, you had the Mavericks and then the Rangers, but they were all top 40 out of 120-something teams.
Wow.
On the other hand, I believe the Cowboys were in the last 20. So
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So
speaking of the first 10,000 people through the gates, did you see the junk that happened the other night at Yankee Stadium?
No, what happened?
Hilarious. The night that Mario Rivera, your favorite pitcher, was going to go to the mound for the last time, I'm a closer. Yeah, they had
I've got one pitch.
They had Rivera
celebrate me.
They had a Rivera bobblehead night. So the first 18,000 people through the gate got a free bobblehead. Well, guess what? The bobbleheads didn't show up to the stadium on time, and everybody was coming in. How do you find out who the first 18,000 through the gate were to start handing them these bobbleheads?
You've got to give everybody a bobblehead.
You've got to do the whole stadium after that.
Yeah, you've got to give all, 56,000?
Yeah, you got to do the whole thing. Because if not, it's not fair. All right, let's get into the Cowboys. We're going to be talking here all day long.
Well, one thing I wanted to note was I think this last game against the Rams, obviously a great win for the Cowboys. They ran the ball well, and that when the Cowboys run the ball well, it usually leads to wins. Every time they've run for over 110 yards in the past 3 seasons, they've won. But one thing that really stood out to me was the play of the rookies. This rookie class.
Wilcox, wow.
You've got J.J. Wilcox. He's one of them. Your number one not number one overall, but your first-round pick, Travis Frederick, has been a starting mainstay at the center position. And I know a lot of people weren't happy with that pick, but the Cowboys did need offensive line help.
Well, he's having some struggles, but he's not playing terrible.
No, and he's a guy that can come in and immediately make your offensive line better than it was. And so you've also got Gavin Escobar. We saw him catch about a 20-yard touchdown pass as the backup tight end behind Jason Witten. And then Terrence Williams is starting in a lot of games. And he's had I believe Tony Romo's only interception came when Terrence Williams ran a bad route. And the ball got tipped in the air and eventually intercepted. But really, those 4 guys and this entire rookie class, it's one that we haven't seen in a while just because they are playing so much and contributing so much on the field.
The Cowboys really had to put some faith in Frederick because he's your center. you've got a $1 billion quarterback right behind him.
Yeah.
And you know that every defense that's going to go up against the Cowboys is going to be going, hey, boys, we're going to funnel this thing right up the middle.
Sure.
Because Frederick's the new guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. You know, the Cowboys really had to put a lot of faith in that guy to put him in that position.
Yeah, and he really has played well. I mean, you watch what he does, and you can tell especially that he's really smart. He's done a good job. I saw a play where he basically set up the protection where you had your left guard pulling and blocking on the far right side. It was a big DeMarco Murray, or actually it was a play-action DeMarco Murray in a deep pass against the Rams. And, he's kind of got to be the brains of the offensive line, and he has done an excellent job of, that's one thing you expect out of a center is to kind of set up the protection once the play is called and once you see what the defense is doing. And he is a super intelligent guy from Wisconsin, and I believe a computer science major, just a really smart kid, and has done an excellent job of filling that role.
Speaking of Wisconsin, did you hear about the new law that they passed?
Tell me.
They passed a law now that it's okay to have duck races in Wisconsin.
Finally.
Yeah, they're going to have the Ducktona 500 and the Lucky Ducky Derby now.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you knew that or not. So Wisconsin have brought it up. So
absolutely,
they have the duck races now. So if you want to go to Wisconsin and get involved with the duck races, it's more than happy. You know, you talking about that running game. DeMarco Murray, for some reason, when they play the Rams, that guy just goes off.
He really does.
Is there a possibility, or is there a way to put like one of those visors on his helmet?
to make everything
when he looks through that visor, all he sees is Ram helmets?
I don't know, but I think it would make a significant difference. I mean, I also think the blocking was better, and I think the Rams aren't a very good run defense.
Oh, we saw that Thursday night.
But,
oh, my gosh.
But, yeah, they But, yeah, he seems to always have a fantastic game against the Rams. I wish we could play the Rams every game. We'd go undefeated, I feel like. Mm-hmm. They're just not very good. Another thing to point out from that game, not only the run game was great, but the Cowboys were getting constant pressure on Sam Bradford, only sending 4 guys. And that's what this defense is based on. If you can get pressure sending 4 guys and keeping everybody else back in coverage, you're going to be successful. You're either going to get sacks or interceptions. And so that'll be something to look for when the Cowboys face off against the San Diego Chargers Sunday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, the San Diego Chargers, Phillip Rivers, San Diego Chargers. You know, this game, to me, is going to be a game of tight ends. Because, man,
Sure.
You got a couple of the premier tight ends to ever play the game. They're going to be in this one. And Phillip Rivers is one of those guys. He's probably one of the toughest quarterbacks. He played a game with a torn ACL. He's a pretty smart guy. I met him once, and that's one of the tallest guys I've ever been around in my life.
Yeah, and him and Romo have very similar career arcs as far as, starting off early in their careers, had a lot of success. Of course, Rivers had LaDainian Tomlinson there, one of the best running backs to ever play the game. Romo, came into the situation. He had a really solid team, a big offensive line, and they both had a lot of early success. In the last 3 years for both quarterbacks have been disappointing as far as their playoffs are concerned and winning games are concerned. Rivers probably in the last 3 years has had a little less statistically, didn't have a really great year early on last season. He kind of came on toward the end, but yeah, as far as what their cities expect from them, very similar. Of course, there's no expectation higher than the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But that being said, I think the San Diego people are wanting Phillip Rivers to get the Chargers into the playoffs. And we saw that the Chargers had there were 3-point favorites in this game. 3 points usually goes to the home team, and so. All things aside, Vegas seems to think that these teams are very similar as far as what they're going to do Sunday.
Do you think it's getting time for the Cowboys, and Joe, you might want to get on this one too, do you think it's getting time for the Cowboys to start thinking about maybe Miles Austin is not really the answer to our problem with all his injuries? He's out again this Sunday with a hamstring situation.
Well, with him being out, that's actually a little bit good for me because I picked up Terrence Williams in my fantasy draft this past year with the help of Mr. Travis. And, I often wonder was Miles just kind of a little bit of a flash in the pan? A couple years ago he had that great game against Kansas City, and Jerry did what Jerry does, went out and blew the bank on him. And he does seem to be very injury prone, and maybe it's just time for Terrence Williams to step up and have a great game.
Yeah, I've always been a big Miles Austin supporter. He had of course, the 1,300-yard season, and he didn't have it. I mean, he didn't really start until, I think, 4 games into the season. So he had one of the most productive span of games that year that we've ever seen. And having a quarterback like, regardless of what you think, Tony Romo, he does make receivers better. And a lot of that could be attributed to Romo. But nonetheless, the next year he had a 1,000-yard season, but missed a couple of games because of injury. And then, the last 2 seasons, the last 2 seasons he's missed some games because of hamstring issues. He's a guy that I've always liked. He seems like, he had to fight his way into the league being an undrafted free agent and really has had to work hard. He doesn't taunt. He doesn't talk a lot. He's not a prima donna. He just goes out and works. I like that about him, but I don't like him being sidelined as far as not being able to be in the game. So you wonder how much what that's going to matter. But you think about it, how many other teams, number 2, like last year he had 950-something yards and 6 touchdowns, missed, I believe, a game because of injury. How many, second options are doing that, especially with the tight end like Jason Witten on the field. So he's really the third option in the offense. I mean, that's not bad.
Oh, it's not bad. But here's the situation with today's NFL. You have got so much money under the cap
sure.
that you can sign players with. If you've got a guy like Miles Austin who is getting paid $1 bazillion to play a game, and he is prone to be hurt, his production is on the bench instead of out on the field. That is what I was getting at. Is that the Cowboys, do they need to start thinking maybe restructure contracts? Do they need to start thinking about reducing his role? I mean, what do they need to do? Because, you've got to have him out there on the field.
And I think you nailed it, Rick. I think Stephen Jones is a notorious contract restructurer, and I think we could definitely see that, or, the possible of letting him go. That's a possibility. I don't know if you let him go, is there still a cap hit that you take? Because if you're going to take a cap hit, then what's the point of letting him go and not getting any production from him if you're still going to be paying for him in the salary cap?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think letting him go is an option, but I think also is that, I guess in football you need to get what you pay for.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It would be helpful, luckily with the rookies coming in these days, you're not blowing the bank on these rookies so that you really don't get your cap structure out of whack.
All right, we got to wrap it up. Cowboys Chargers tomorrow. I think Cowboys in a close one, maybe like 27-21, somewhere around in there, in that area.
Be sure, real quick, as we're leaving here, be sure you got a big week coming up. You got weekend for the Rangers. You got 2 more against the Angels. You've got Derek Holland going today. They may end up pushing that start back a little bit. They moved it up. Now they may have to move it back a little bit. You got Derek Holland going tonight. Close the season out with you. And, hey, let's just hope for a 3-way tie. Let's hope we got some more baseball going on in Arlington. You've got a little stick and puck coming this week. Stick and puck starts this week. Dallas Stars kick off their season. Be sure to watch for that.
All right, it's time to wrap it up here on Offsides. Thanks for tuning in, and